After 10 years of love and 5 years of engagement, with no wedding and no betrothal gifts, my best friend has always stood up for me. I made countless excuses for Jeff, but it was only at the moment Nina appeared in front of me with a child that I finally understood. I'm sorry, Eileen, it was Jeff who brought us here. I didn't know you were. I glanced at the little boy she was holding, and in his features, he looked so much like Jeff. How old are you? I'm 5 years old, Auntie. I smiled. Children really don't lie. Eileen, I didn't mean to hurt you. I truly love Jeff. I have to catch a flight, so I won't reminisce with you. Nina and I were roommates in college. She lived on the upper bunk while I lived on the lower. We often went to get water and food together. I never expected that the person she bragged about being the first in our dorm to graduate and get married would be Jeff, my boyfriend of 10 years. I walked out of the bathroom on the plane with icy hands and feet. Due to the turbulence, I lost my balance and suddenly fell to the side. When I looked up, I found myself falling onto a man's dress pants, right in the crotch area. The fabric of the pants was clearly custom-made and quite expensive. I suddenly wanted to get up and apologize, but a pair of strong hands unexpectedly pressed me down. I couldn't move, and the first thought that popped into my mind was that I had encountered a beast in human clothing. And on a plane. In front of so many people. Pervert. Someone's being a pervert. Help. My mouth was muffled by the fabric of my trousers, and my voice came out muffled and unclear. I didn't know if my cries for help were effective. But I kept struggling and shouting, resisting this man's incredible strength. It seemed like he was determined to openly assault me on the plane. My nails seemed to scratch a certain part of him. He let out a deep breath, and the pressure of his hands on me seemed to ease a bit. Sensing this change, I tried to push myself up with my hands, but the turbulence of the air threw me back into his embrace again. This time, his hand merely encircled me, keeping me within the range of his arms, not allowing me to slip away even a little. It seemed like a protective gesture, and his hand no longer touched my body. At that moment, however, my body was sprawled across his shoulder. I withdrew my hand, but he suddenly stopped me. Don't move, it's a big bump. No sooner had he said this than the plane seemed to collide with something, and one side of the wing suddenly tilted down, dropping sharply. I heard everyone in the cabin gasp in shock, and some even cried out in distress, clearly on the verge of a mental breakdown. After all, it was impossible not to be afraid with the turbulence lasting this long. But my mind was still occupied with the thought that I hadn't petted the cat, hadn't held it, or kissed it before leaving home today. It waited for me to come back, always squatting at the door, staring intently at the keyhole, unblinking and sleepless. Even when Jeff was home, it knew Jeff didn't like it and wouldn't cling to him, so it wouldn't give up until it saw me. My fingers unconsciously clenched tight. They say that before a person dies, their mind plays back memories like a lantern show, but my lantern clearly hasn't started yet, and my life is about to end. I lay in this man's embrace for a long time, long enough that I even thought we had encountered a disaster. Until I heard his deep, soothing voice saying, "Don't be afraid, it's okay, I'm here, I won't let anything happen to you." His voice came one after another, drifting from a distant place, and I couldn't grasp it at all. I just hazily lifted my head, my vision blurred as I looked at him. In that moment, Jeff's clear and handsome face overlapped with the face of the man in front of me. It was as if the fear of having survived a disaster rose from the depths of my heart, and I uncontrollably buried myself in his arms, sobbing violently. It felt like I was pouring out all the tears that had been pent up for so long at that moment. Until finally, when my strength was completely spent, my consciousness gradually returned, and I realized that the man in front of me was not Jeff. And I was just alone on this flight to San Francisco, having narrowly escaped disaster. "Here, wipe your tears." The man handed me a tissue, and I took it to dab at my tears. As my vision cleared a bit, I noticed that his once clean and tidy shirt was now wrinkled and disheveled. It was covered in the marks and tear stains I had left from my earlier panic, and I could even see the outline of his chest muscles. "Eileen, can you please stop being so inappropriate?" I silently cursed myself and looked at him apologetically. I'm so sorry, really sorry. How much did your clothes cost? I'll pay you back. He lifted the gold-rimmed glasses resting on his nose and looked at me, a complex emotion flowing in the depths of his dark eyes that I couldn't comprehend. I thought he was simply too well-mannered and refined to say that astonishing number to scare me. It's fine, just say it. I might not have enough cash. If it's convenient, could you leave me a bank card number? I'll transfer it to you. I was momentarily taken aback, but quickly reacted, sure, can I add your number? He took my phone, and I saw his long, slender fingers with distinct joints pressing buttons, and a new phone number lay in my contacts. Alright, I'm really sorry. With the flight attendant's company, I returned to my seat. When I looked up, I happened to see that man again. Our seats were quite close to each other. 5 hours later, the plane landed in San Francisco, and I received a call from Jeff. Why did it take you so long to answer? The flight. The words were on the tip of my tongue, but I swallowed them back, not wanting to explain further. It was delayed. Last night, Mom said the ointment you brought back last time was very effective. Buy some more when you come back from this business trip. My job often requires me to travel, but most of the time, it's just between San Francisco and Los Angeles. If Jeff cared about me a little more, he would have noticed that my flight was delayed by a full 3 hours this time. But he clearly knows and doesn't ask a word. After all, I am no longer his top priority, perhaps I don't even rank at the bottom. I suppressed the bitterness. Jeff, is there anything else you want to say to me? What did you say? A door slammed from that side, and then a woman's voice, faint and elusive, quickly faded away. I chuckled softly, how ironic. As soon as I got off the plane, my phone immediately lit up with a Facebook message from Nina. The content was, Eileen, do you need me to help you pack your things? Nina looked overly anxious. Clearly, Jeff was completely unaware of everything and intended to keep fooling me like a naive child. It's nothing, I have other matters to attend to, I'll hang up now. I returned to the hotel, quickly took a shower, and then headed to meet the client. After everything was discussed and signed, I thought it was all settled, but the other party, in high spirits, insisted on moving to another venue for drinks. I was originally mildly allergic to alcohol, but for some reason tonight I didn't want to care. I kept drinking until I was sprawled over the toilet, throwing up until I was completely out of it. It was already 4 a.m. The assistant had sent off the client, and after taking a hangover pill and feeling the cold wind, I thought I had mostly sobered up since there was nothing left in my stomach to throw up. I hailed a taxi without a second thought. The assistant's voice calling for me was drowned out by the car window, lost in the cold wind outside. At 4:30 a.m, the dawn was just beginning to show. A few rays of golden light broke through the dark horizon like bamboo shoots, slowly pushing their way out from the darkness. I remember the way Jeff looked when he awkwardly confessed to me for the first time. He carefully took my hand and, with a dazed expression, asked, "Can you be my girlfriend?" At that time, the young man was full of vigor, and even though he was repeatedly lectured by parents and teachers, he insisted on holding my hand and running wildly on the playground. I remember Jeff standing in line to buy me roasted sweet potatoes, and when he ran back, his ears were bright red from the cold, yet he kept my sweet potato snugly tucked in his arms. He said, "I can't let it be touched by even a hint of cold, lest it cool my Eileen." I once thought those moments would last forever. When the master reminded me that I had arrived, I was already lost in memories, tears streaming down my face. After hurriedly thanking him, I opened the car door and got out, only to trip hard on the steps. I felt certain that my knee must have been scraped. It felt as if my bones were about to break. It turned out I was very clear-headed, I just thought I was. It was on that day that I met Peter. A pair of men's leather shoes caught my eye, and a deep, pleasant voice came from above me, "Can you still stand up?" I looked up in the direction of the voice. He was very tall, enveloped in the first rays of morning light, shimmering with silver edges, as if a handsome, unblemished deity had descended. I was mesmerized, completely forgetting that I was still sitting on the ground, looking quite awkward. As he crouched down and got closer, I realized. This person was the man whose clothes I had dirted on the plane, exuding an air of nobility. What a coincidence, we meet again. I murmured absent-mindedly, unsure if he heard me. Have you been drinking? It sounded like a question, but he didn't wait for my answer. You've had quite a bit. I hadn't reacted yet when I suddenly felt my body lighten. Looking again, the distance between us was reduced to just a fingertip. He was holding me in his arms, and to steady myself, I had no choice but to wrap my arms around his neck. I noticed his features were striking, with a high nose bridge and sharp, defined jawline. Perhaps it was the effect of the alcohol at that moment. My gaze uncontrollably drifted downward, completely ignoring how offensive it might be. You look so familiar. A bit like. My hand gestured in the air, a little neighbor of mine from many years ago. I carefully sifted through certain fragments deep in my memory, then shook my head. Hiss, not quite, he shouldn't be as handsome as you, a little boy. Back then, he even stole my love letter, and thinking about it still makes me angry, I was jostled by his vague movements, and the hand around his neck tightened involuntarily. Leaning against his chest, I could hear the strong, rhythmic beating of his heart, similar to that moment on the plane. Inexplicably, without reason, I felt at ease. Perhaps the wine I drank last night was too strong, my thoughts were no longer under control, including my hands. I touched his brow, then followed the line of his nose all the way down, sliding to his neck, finally resting on his prominent Adam's apple. I saw his Adam's apple bobbing up and down, and I instinctively mimicked the swallowing motion. He finally looked at me, his eyes swirling with some strangely complex emotions, mingled with an undeniable desire. Although I was confused, I could sense that my face must be burning hot right now. My breathing was erratic and complicated, the air was overly ambiguous, and I forced myself to turn my face away. He gently placed me on the sofa. He caught my hand, which was moving restlessly, and said, "Don't move around, or something will happen." "Did you bring me to the room just because you feel sorry for me?" My cheeks flushed, a tipsy feeling washing over me, and I gazed at him with shimmering eyes. "Yesterday you were Sir, and now your brother. I heard him chuckle softly, unsure if it was mockery or sympathy. "Brother, doesn't it sound nice?" I tilted my head back, looking at him. "You still haven't answered my question." "I don't have relationships with women who are already taken." I muttered reluctantly, "Who told you I was taken?" I don't even know when my hand slipped under the hem of his suit, only to be stopped by him. He gripped my wrist, the pressure not exactly heavy, but it still hurt. His tone was very heavy, as if he was struggling to restrain that last shred of reason. "What is this?" "Oh. The engagement ring." I sank back down like a deflated balloon. My head hurt. I picked up my phone and habitually opened Facebook, seeing the pinned post from Jeff, that empty conversation box. I saw a picture sent by Nina, of a dyed shirt. "Eileen, Jeff said this was the birthday gift you gave him. I didn't know it couldn't be machine washed." It was last year for Jeff's birthday, a custom-made piece I had someone arrange for me abroad. I threw my phone down, my hand pressing against the throbbing spot at my temple. "Put this on, and drink this." The man who had walked away came back, handing me a warm towel and a cup of water. I didn't take it, just stared at him in a daze. Perhaps it was the vengeful feelings that had grown deep within me that were clamoring. Perhaps it was the man before me, so beguiling and gentle. Perhaps it was the first ray of morning light that was too enchanting. I raised my right hand, placed it in front of him, and took off the ring right in front of him, throwing it away. I had worn this ring for 5 years, and it was almost taking root on my middle finger. I licked my dry lips, boldly hooked his belt. "Is it okay now?" "Brother." I felt his breathing grow heavier, a certain hidden and obscure emotion was about to burst forth. Yet he pinched my chin. "Have you thought it through?" I obediently nodded, and he added, "Choosing me means there is no turning back." At that time I did not understand the deeper meaning of his words, thinking it was just his kind reminder. It was only later, when I returned to Los Angeles and encountered him again, that I realized he had wanted to completely possess me from the very beginning, to make me his. My hand instinctively rested on his slender waist, I stood on my tiptoes, and my moist lips pecked at the male Adam's apple that I had long coveted. I know. The glass fell with a clatter, rolling a few times on the carpet before disappearing. He lifted my face, and his kiss descended, covering my lips. The sensation was real as he held me all the way to the floor-to-ceiling window of the room. The wind stirred the curtains, brushing against my smooth back. His kiss was heavy and deep, inch by inch invading my soul, like a beast that had tasted blood, tireless and relentless. When I woke up, I saw a room in chaos and disarray, my mind a complete mess. I glanced at the man sleeping on the bed, his face was indeed captivating. But my heart is not whole, I shouldn't harm anyone. Let's just consider it a dream, and now that the dream is over. I picked up the clothes from the floor and put them on. I didn't even wear high heels, like a thief feeling guilty. The door had just opened a crack when it was slammed shut with a bang. He forcefully turned me around. His gaze met mine, his eyes dark and unfathomable. Are you going to deny it after sleeping together? You. I want to go back, My remaining words were swallowed by the man's burning lips. My hand pressed against his strong abdomen, and he seized my hand, pulling it around his back. I was pinned against the door, grinding and kissing, sometimes heavy, sometimes light. It was as if my sudden departure angered him, holding me tightly, afraid I would slip away from his fingers again. Yet he was especially gentle, fearing to hurt me. It hurts, brother. I blinked at him in his embrace. It felt like a piece of cream melting in my heart. He leaned close to my ear, his voice deep and sensual. I'll be gentle. I thought he would let me go, but this man kept me occupied from dawn till dusk. Fortunately, the business trip I came for was already completed. I saw him busy at the desk and didn't disturb him, focusing on my own tasks. Until he finished the video conference and handed me a business card, saying, no matter when or where, as long as you need me, I will be there. I took it and looked at the name on the card, Peter. That name sounded so familiar. The president of the Los Angeles Risk Control Group, the richest bachelor in the city, she had seen his interview in a well-known magazine, and Jody had often fantasized about him in her ear. This company was also the fastest-growing financial firm in Los Angeles in recent years. I saw that he was already dressed, his coat draped over his arm, ready to leave. I called out to him, I added you on Facebook, I'll transfer you the clothing damage fee, remember to collect it. He let out a light laugh, ruffled my hair, and said, good girl. Suddenly, I felt a sense of a devoted wife bidding farewell to her husband. I shook my head, refusing to let myself think any further. This night, after all, could only be a fleeting encounter. My business trip is over, and I've returned to Los Angeles. I'm going back to prepare for an overnight move. When I opened the door, the cat wasn't sitting at the entrance to greet me as usual. I thought the cat was angry and hiding, waiting for me to find it. I started packing things up. Nina packed a box of clothes without my permission, and since I found them dirty, I simply didn't take them. I estimated a rough price and sent it to Nina. I finished organizing the rest within an hour. No one was home, so the whole process went smoothly. This is better, saving me from some unnecessary face-to-face interactions, which are disgusting. I called the moving company and searched all the corners of the house where the cat might be hiding, but I couldn't find it. In the end, I called Jeff in a frenzy. Jeff didn't answer, so I simply sat in the hallway and waited. Until after 10, the harmonious family of 3 appeared before me. Eileen, when did you come back? Jeff nervously let go of the hand he was holding Nina with. I chose to get straight to the point. What about the cat? The cat bit someone, it's not suitable to keep it home, I gave it away. Who did it bite? I clenched my fists. Nina's tone was gentle, creating a stark contrast to my cold indifference. Eileen, don't be angry yet, it was the cat that scratched the child. Did I ask you? I glared at Jeff, waiting for him to give me an answer. The cat had always been well behaved, it wouldn't hurt anyone unless it felt threatened. Jeff pulled Nina behind him in a protective manner. Don't blame Nina, it was me who sent it away. If there's any issue, come at me. I looked at this loving couple and suddenly burst into laughter. It's nothing, just return the cat to me safe and sound, and… Jeff, I took a deep breath, we're done. After saying that, I walked away, not giving myself a moment to breathe. Jeff's grip tightened around my wrist. Eileen, when did you become so unreasonable? Are you really going to break up with me over a hurtful beast? Ha, I really wanted to laugh. I remember when I brought the cat home from the streets, it had its tail maliciously cut off by someone. It took me 3 months to earn the cat's trust. At that time, Jeff was full of compassion. I don't understand why there are beasts in this world that abuse cats. Our Eileen is so kind. I must work harder to earn money so that our little home can accommodate more homeless little treasures. My hands trembled, and I struggled to control them. I looked at him holding my hand, then at Nina behind him, whom he was being particularly careful with. Jeff, one person's hand can't hold 2 people. Jeff seemed surprised and somewhat angry about the breakup, holding on to me and not letting me go, perhaps thinking that I, a little fool who had relied on him for 10 years, would one day awaken and take the initiative to break up. Have you thought this through? You know my mom took a long time to accept you, and I was already planning our wedding. I looked at the man I had once loved deeply. Time can be terrifying, it can make a person grow up, but it can also change a person beyond recognition. I brushed his hand away. Your child's mother is still here, so don't say these things to me anymore, and don't look for me. At least, I don't want to hate myself so much that I wish I could just disappear every midnight. I heard Jeff's furious curses behind me. Eileen, if you leave, don't think you can come back. I won't take back a woman who treats love so carelessly. After 10 years, at the very least, I have seen through a man. I moved in with my best friend Jody overnight. I was very calm, but Jody was furiously cursing Jeff's entire family. She insisted on dragging me to drink, and in the end, I didn't get drunk. Instead, she ended up getting herself completely wasted. I cleaned up the mess on the table and finally wiped her face. Before going to bed, she kept holding my hand tightly, insisting that we must go to Jeff's house tomorrow to make that pair of scoundrels restless. After I lay down, I flipped to the Facebook chat window. The 20,000 yuan I transferred to Peter had already been automatically refunded by the system due to timeout. Well, for such a successful man, how could he possibly miss my 20,000 yuan? In the following half-month, I went about my usual routine of eating and working, occasionally being dragged out by Jody to bars for some fun. She even wanted to introduce me to handsome guys, but I turned them all down. At this stage, I just want to adjust my mindset and live well. I didn't block Jeff, and from time to time I received Facebook messages from him, mostly asking if I regretted it and deliberately showing off on Facebook. Nina, after the clouds clear, the moon will shine. Jeff, a lifetime together, just the 2 of us. Jody pulled me in laughter. I have to say, this pair of dog lovers really is a match made in heaven. Their cultural levels are quite comparable. I just hope they get locked down and never come out to harm anyone again. I smiled and sent Jeff a message asking when he would return my cat. That night, I received a call from Nina, who was cursing on the other end. Eileen, can you please stop being so shameless? If you want revenge, just do it openly. Why play these mind games? I was quite confused and hadn't spoken yet. Nina bombarded me like a machine gun. Jeff just announced me on Facebook today, and tonight you can use the little creature you both raised to entangle Jeff. Then you should call the police. After I said that, I hung up and conveniently blocked both Nina and Jeff. Later, in the dead of night, I received a call from Jeff's brother. Jeff drank so much he had a stomach bleed and is in the hospital. You should come see him. You should have seen his Facebook, you should know who to contact. His brother was silent for a few seconds on the other end. To be honest, Eileen, he hasn't really let you go, he's not as happy as you think. But I've let him go, and I don't want him to disturb my life anymore. Eileen, you 2 have been together for so many years, outsiders can't judge matters of the heart. Besides, he just made a mistake that all men make, give him a chance. It's no wonder you two can become friends. If he lacks medical expenses, I can help him crowdfund, but no, he lacks love, so desperately, that he can't be picky. His brother also didn't expect that I'm not the kind of love-struck fool I seem to be on a daily basis. I'm ready to change my approach, and I directly cut off his words. Have Jeff return my cat safe and sound within a week, or I will really call the police. Later, I ran into Jeff at the entrance of the community. He looked scruffy, visibly negative and haggard, holding a cage that presumably contained my cat. I stepped forward to take it, but he pulled me back. Eileen, promise me, don't hurt yourself. I glanced at him, a bad premonition creeping into my heart. When I opened the cage, the cat was in a terrible state, with blood mixed with flesh and fur stuck together in some areas, and blood was dripping all over the ground. I slapped Jeff hard, making my hand go numb. Jeff, I will never forgive you in this lifetime. The cat is dead, and I don't know why this happened. Eileen. I took a taxi with the cat to the pet hospital I often visited. The doctor took one look and said it had suffered brutal abuse in its life. That night, I cried uncontrollably and finally fainted at the hospital entrance from exhaustion. I didn't expect the first person I would see when I woke up to be Peter. He brought me a glass of water. Is there anywhere else that doesn't feel right? What are you doing here? I looked at him in surprise and confusion. I have something to attend to, he said as a call came in. He glanced at it and hung up. I'll arrange for someone to take care of the cremation and placement. You don't need to worry about the rest, just focus on taking care of yourself. The sense of security within me was magnified beyond measure. Somehow, I recalled our first meeting, and it seemed that from that moment on, he had given me a profound sense of stability. It felt as if with him around, all problems could be easily resolved. I intended to say something, but he seemed busy. Another call came in, and he stepped out to take it. In the following days, Peter came over every day. Although he didn't stay long, he always brought delicious food and drinks. Honestly, I couldn't eat all of it by myself. He peeled an apple and handed it to me, ruffling my hair. Eat as much as you can. I really wanted to ask him how he found me. But then I thought about it. People say it was just a chance encounter, lending a helping hand. On the day I was discharged, Jody looked at me with a smile. With such a rare good man, why aren't you seizing the opportunity? What do you mean? You still don't know? I looked at Jody in confusion. After he helped you with the cat issue, he also found the person who was abusing the cats. He knew that the police couldn't handle this matter, so he conducted an undercover investigation at that pet store and posted the entire process online. Now that person has been forced to close the shop, and it's basically impossible for them to reopen unless they completely change their identity. How do you know all this? You can see it online, there are official reports. I hadn't been checking my phone much lately, so I was completely unaware of this news. So during those days, he was running around the hospital, busying himself to help me resolve this issue. Peter stood tall and dignified in front of the Bentley, attracting the attention of passers-by. I hurried over and took the bouquet from his hands. Congratulations on your discharge. I had so much to say, but now my eyes were welling up and my nose felt sour. I stepped forward and hugged him, burying my face in his shoulder. Thank you. He stroked my hair and patted my back, reassuring me. After I composed myself, I lifted my bright face and asked, "Are you trying to pursue me?" He tilted his head, raised an eyebrow, and looked pleased. Looks like you've figured it out. I'm willing to give it a try with you. He held my arms firmly and said seriously, Eileen, I don't want you to feel any psychological burden, being with me out of gratitude. No, I shook my head, softly saying, it's because I think you're very nice. He suddenly bent down and leaned close to my ear. Which aspect are you referring to? My ears instantly turned bright red, and I pushed him away with my hand. After all, Jody was still standing behind us. You two are throwing dog food around. Hey, I love it, sprinkle some more. Later, Peter formally took me to a business cocktail party at his company. That day, I was dressed stunningly. I didn't expect to run into Jeff at this occasion. Eileen? I turned to look. The person next to him wasn't Nina, but a little internet celebrity I didn't know, who had recently become popular. You managed to find out my schedule? You need an invitation to be here, how did you get in? I turned to leave. Eileen, let's talk. He sent away the little internet celebrity and blocked my way. The cat was sent away by Nina, and I didn't know that place would be cruel to cats. I'm glad you could come find me. All those posts about Nina on my Facebook are set to friends only. I haven't made her public, nor have I let her meet my parents. From the beginning, I never intended to marry her. With her, I was just a playmate during lonely times. I casually picked up a champagne glass. I'm not here to find you, and I don't care about this. Then will you give me a chance to win you back? Jeff, I won't want a man who treats relationships as a fleeting affair. Have you had enough of this? Jeff was determined to block my way. President Peter? I was a bit surprised to see Peter appear by my side. When did he and Jeff become acquaintances? At this moment, Jeff took on the role of the host and introduced, President Peter, this is my fiancée, Eileen. This is our company's largest investor, President Peter. When did my girlfriend become your fiancée? Peter's casual remark stirred up a storm in Jeff. Eileen, Jeff looked at me in disbelief, then glanced at Peter who had his arm around my waist, nodding knowingly. It seems you've been secretly preparing a backup plan behind my back. Since when did this start? Eileen, your shamelessness truly opens my eyes. President Peter, you must not be deceived by this woman's innocent appearance, she has been with me for over 10 years. Before Jeff could finish his sentence, he received a solid punch to the face. The veins on Peter's forehead showed his anger. He fiercely grabbed Jeff by the collar. If you can't speak properly, I don't mind beating you until you can. I sat in the passenger seat of the Bentley, watching blood trickle from Peter's right knuckle, unsure if it was his or Jeff's. Peter pressed his hand against his temple while holding the phone, his tone calm yet filled with an overwhelming pressure. We're changing the people in the investment department. Are we really going to hire those who can't even do background checks and expect me to train them? I felt like I couldn't stay in this space any longer. Jeff may be a jerk, but what he said was the truth. Even though it wasn't some feudal era, I didn't feel ashamed about it. But just because my ex is Jeff, that alone is enough to make one feel disgusted and want to vomit. I finally couldn't take it anymore and silently opened the car door to leave. Along the way, Peter called me countless times, but I didn't answer. I didn't know how to face him. I had been with a scumbag for 10 years, 10 years. That can only mean I am a scumbag too. I haven't answered Peter's calls for a week, and when he came to find me, I also refused to go downstairs to meet him. There was never any possibility of intersection in our lives, so as long as I intentionally avoided him, he couldn't see me at all. In the end, I heard from Jody that Jeff's company is about to go bankrupt after Peter withdrew his investment. Jody also said, clearly, he's acting out of anger for a woman. I continued to drink my milk. Seeing that I was unmoved, Jody took the initiative to come in front of me and told me, he's going on a business trip to the port city tomorrow. Are you sure you don't want to see him? My heart was in turmoil because I couldn't face myself, let alone the deeply affectionate and gentle Peter. By midnight, I was still lying in bed, tossing and turning, unable to sleep. I got up and walked to the window, and at a glance, I saw Peter leaning against the car, smoking. The cold and meticulous man, who usually radiates confidence on weekdays, now appears somewhat desolate under the dim yellow streetlight, his handsomeness tinged with a sense of disarray. He has to wake up early for a business trip tomorrow, yet he is still waiting downstairs for me tonight. My heart is a tangled mess, filled with mixed emotions. Jody knocked on my door. I opened it, and she handed me a paper bag containing several photos. How did you get these photos? These photos are all irrefutable evidence of Jeff with Nina. My nails dug deep into my palm. You knew all along that Jeff betrayed me, yet you never told me? Why? I couldn't understand. Jody closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Eileen, I don't want to hide this from you anymore, nor do I want to see you miss out on Peter again because of the guilt and turmoil inside you. These photos were given to me by Peter. That night, Jody talked to me for a long, long time. It turned out that Peter had known all along. It turned out that after several twists and turns, Peter finally found me. At 1 o'clock in the morning, I rushed out of the house in my slippers. Jody's words echoed in my mind, Eileen, Peter could have sent these directly to you. Yes, Peter could have sent these photos directly to me, yet he chose not to disturb me. He didn't want to hurt me in such a cruel and straightforward way, leaving these in Jody's hands. Until Nina couldn't hold back any longer and came to find me. Until I discovered the truth myself. He is such a gentle person. He had long asked Jody, send me her flight, business trip itinerary, and hotel information. He had long told Jody, I will take good care of her, don't worry. It turns out that all of this was not a coincidence. The same flight was not a coincidence. The same cabin was not a coincidence. The same hotel was not a coincidence, it was all orchestrated by him, Peter. It turns out that the boy who stole my love letter back then, who lived next door in my hometown, the one who always stopped me from running out to hang out with other boys and insisted I study with him, was Peter. It turns out, Mo show is Peter. I finally figured it out. Jeff is a bad person, but I am not. Jeff hurt me, so should I lose the courage to love? Should I hurt someone as good to me as Peter? I ran breathlessly to Peter. He opened his arms to catch me, and I buried myself deep in his embrace, taking a deep breath. I remembered that night in San Francisco when I was hungover, with a car following the taxi. At that time, I thought it was my assistant who was worried. That day, was it you who kept following my car? Peter shrugged and laughed casually, if my wife gets hurt, 100 Jeffs wouldn't be enough to make up for it. Protecting my wife is something I have to do myself. Peter, you. I curled up in his arms and cried, and cried. Why did you change your name? You made it so I didn't even recognize you. You've grown taller, become more handsome, so handsome that it makes people furious. I stood on my tiptoes, tightly hugging him. You know, the elders at home have their beliefs, and they are convinced that this name brings me good fortune. I pounded my fists against his chest, one punch after another. I sobbed, why did you change your name? It made it so I couldn't recognize you. I felt both wronged and pitiful. Peter's eyes filled with tenderness as he held my fist and kissed it against his lips. It's my fault for finding you so late, Eileen. It's me who has made you suffer for so many years. It turns out that Peter had liked me from such an early time, and I was completely unaware. I remembered a letter he left behind years ago when he moved away. In the letter, he asked me to wait for him at UCLA, he wanted us to meet at UCLA. But after I met Jeff, who was all the rage at that time, I completely forgot about our agreement and cast it aside. When I got to UCLA, Jeff and I became the most well-known model couple on campus. Woo-woo. Peter, I'm sorry, I didn't know you had been. I even forgot our agreement, and I was with. Shoo, being together now is the best ending. That night, we spent time in the car, with him folding my legs over his neck. Again and again, he called my name. Afterwards, my face flushed as I pushed him away. Why are you calling me wife? When did I agree to marry you? Marry me, okay? Are you proposing? I stared at him in shock. If you think a more formal occasion is needed, wait for me to come back, and I'll prepare it. That kind of occasion needs an element of surprise, and I feel no surprise at all right now. So, are you going to marry or not? He scratched my waist, and I was so ticklish that I nodded repeatedly. Yes, I will marry, is that okay? Let go of me, so ticklish, Peter. You know? I had a hard time that day. Peter whispered in my ear, sexy and seductive. Which day? On the plane. My mind paused for a moment before I remembered that time. The memories of the dead suddenly attacked me, it was simply too embarrassing. Eileen, after 15 years, you finally became my wife. Peter's hot breath spilled over my ear. Inch by inch, he left his breath, his mark. Our passionate embraces, deep kisses. 15 years. My tears fell down again, worthless, 15 years. Because I kept murmuring this phrase, Peter sensed it, looking back at me, caressing my cheek. Peter, 15 years, do you know how many 15 years there are in a person's life? He kissed away my tears little by little. Sweetheart, I don't want to see you cry anymore. I sighed, wrapped my arms around his neck, buried my face in his embrace, and responded, Peter, I love you, very much. I do too. On the day of my wedding with Peter, Jody told me Jeff was here, sitting at the door. After I asked Peter, he pinched my cheek. Go on, I'll wait for you. I feigned surprise. As my husband, you actually agreed to let your wife meet her ex at the wedding? Not jealous? He wrapped his arm around my waist and pressed me closer. Who said I'm not jealous? I'm dying of jealousy. When I went out to meet Jeff, he was visibly losing weight at an alarming rate. He handed me a document. Eileen, please come back? I can't live without you, I would die without you. I didn't take the document from him, but I saw the heading on it, paternity test report. Jeff, we're done. Don't make me look down on you again. Is it because he has money that I don't have, Peter? Is it because I'm bankrupt? Is it because I got rid of your cat? Perhaps some people will never know why they are despised by the world until the day they die. I calmly handed him a gift. I won't give you the invitation, Jeff. You didn't want to come to my wedding, but now I have it. I'm doing well, and you should live well too. He suddenly grabbed my shoulders and shook me violently, the veins on his neck bulging. Eileen, what do I have to do to get you back by my side? Do you want me to kneel down and bow my head to apologize? It was the first time I saw Jeff cry like a child. He really knelt down straight in front of me, holding on to my high heels, his head bleeding as he begged for my forgiveness. If it were the past, I might have felt heartbroken, but now. Jeff, as adults, we should pay the price for our choices. Eileen. You're so ruthless. You're really so ruthless. After Jeff went out, he laughed maniacally. A few days later, I learned from his mother's call that he had developed amphetamine-induced psychosis, commonly known as mental illness, along with self-harm, and was admitted to the hospital. Later, Jody came up to me, laughing so hard she could barely stand. Let me tell you, that cheap son of Jeff, he's not even his. Can you believe this lonely rich second-generation family? Isn't it laughable? Ha ha ha. I felt no waves in my heart. If it was Jeff, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Stop laughing and come with me to buy some little clothes. What little clothes? Are you buying new underwear? I smiled mysteriously. Baby clothes, wow, Peter is spot on. While Jody and I were shopping in the mall, I suddenly heard a fierce shout. Eileen. I turned around and saw Nina. She had a look of hatred on her face, baring her teeth as she rushed towards me. I instinctively protected my belly. Jody stepped in front of me. Nina, pinned to the ground by the security guard, still stubbornly said, Do you think you've won? Pa. I gave birth to Jeff's son. I've been with Jeff for a long time, and you, Eileen, will always be my loser. Forever. Nina was taken to the police station to give a statement. After Jody came out, she told me, that woman is covered in domestic violence injuries. It seems she has been beaten up quite a bit by that psycho Jeff. Even though I felt calm inside, I couldn't help but sigh. It's all her choice, she just has to accept it. That night, Peter learned about what happened during the day through Jody and nervously stroked my belly. If anything happens in the future, you must tell me right away, do you hear me? Are you nervous about your baby, or me? Of course it's you. Without you, where would the baby come from? This time, I felt an unprecedented sense of satisfaction. With Peter alone, my life is complete.